An excellent day for an exorcism.
Welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast.
I'm John.
Fuck capitalism!
I'm Lindsay, trying to write horror novels because I was a weird kid.
The whole world is your urinal.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Hello. Welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. I'm John.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm M.
And we are...
You sound really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I need to talk louder or at a good volume.
Oh, me too, actually.
We're doing Suspiria and Suspiria. Both of them. But we're going to do the 1977 one first. And which one of you guys decided on this? How did this happen?
We were talking about doing like an old and new, like old versions and new versions, and I think that's just one of the ones that came up at. I think you brought it up as.
Did I? Oh, I'm so cool. Way to go, me.
Well, I mean, there's only so many movies that they have like old and new of the same movie, and not just like a part 2 or whatever.
Well, there's that whole stretch where they did like The Fog and shit like that. You know, I'm not even
Yeah,
gonna
there
get into
actually
that.
are quite a few. We could do this for a while.
But please, God, no.
No.
I didn't know that because I don't like horror movies.
An American newcomer to a prestigious German ballet academy comes to realize that the school is a front for something sinister amid a series of grisly murders.
There's no real plot to this. I don't know if you disagree.
No, I agree, but I still love it anyway.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Although there was some things that happened while I was doing all that dumbass research I was doing today, which I regret because now my score is going to drop because there's some nasty shit going on here. Dario Argento said...
He's the director.
He's the director. He did a couple of giallos before this. He did Deep Red, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Can't think of the other ones, but those are like the two real big ones. And then he read this 3-page long story that I'm not even going to try to use in this review, but it's about Mother Suspiriorum and these other two mothers, and he decided to make a trilogy out of it. But okay, that's the good part of it. The bad part is that he said, I don't care what anybody thinks, I would rather see an attractive girl get murdered than an ugly girl, and I don't care how anybody feels about this. Another fun fact, whenever there's a hand murdering somebody in any of Argento's movies, it's Argento.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Yeah, isn't that gross?
So was that his hairy hand that grabbed the girl and pulled her hairy arm?
Yeah, yeah. A giallo is... Can you define it better than... I bet you probably can. It's like a murder mystery with graphic murders. And it was huge in Italy. Like,
okay.
The point is the murders are over the top. And it's also supposed to be a mystery, but not in this case.
Yeah.
So, those are my negatives for this movie. That's it. And no plot. So, everything else is going to be a beaming review. Recommendation. Need to get my words right.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the atmosphere and the, like... To me, it's like an artistic masterpiece. So, like, even though the plot is not really there, the artistic aspects of it more than make up for it to me.
I think Goblin's score is the best score.
It is so good.
Best
and
score.
I could see how some people might not like it and might find it too overpowering, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's intense.
It sounded like tribal almost. I feel like the music.
At parts, yeah.
Was that
I heard some like didgeridoo in there. Like
Yeah.
What gets me is the first time I saw it, like I said in the car, I hated it, but I also didn't know what was going on. And then the second time I watched it and I heard witch in the score, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
just
you
like
dummy,
whispering it.
it's saying it right to you. Like, seriously, the first time I didn't know there were witches, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, it is pretty blatant. That's the thing about this, though, before we really dig into the plot or whatever. I don't understand why these girls they care. There's nothing really sinister going on until they go looking for shit, and then they get killed.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on that's so bad? They have a secret room, a couple of secret rooms. They're doing witchcraft that isn't really bothering anybody. Like, why are they so upset?
Well, I think the first girl, Patricia, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that I feel like she was possibly targeted by the witches because she was the RAF, God damn it. Why can't I think? So there's the whole thing about what's the RAF? The Red, hold on, Red Army faction. That is a West German far left militant organization founded in 1970. They talked about how she was like getting involved with them.
That's not in this one, though.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. The
Not
only
the
thing
one
that
in
happens is that she comes out and starts going on about the door. You don't hear it. The first time that she comes out, it's completely just rain. And Susie walks by her and thinks she hears her saying something. And as the movie goes on, she starts realizing more and more what she said.
And we don't really know what all that girl was going through up to that point either.
Right.
They don't talk about her at all in like after the fact.
A little, but it's
What
just...
do they say?
They just say, a young student of ours, Patricia, was murdered last night. And then the one girl that she's rooming with is like, she was always against everything and always causing trouble and blah, blah, blah. But really, I think what it was is she found the secret room, so they killed her. I think that's literally all it was. There was that's the thing with this. There's no depth in this at all. There's no subplots. There's no... They're not making the dancers into vessels in this.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's pretty much no dancing in the original one.
Susie goes there to dance, does half a dance, gets sick, and is done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I think at one point I forgot she was even in the movie because she was up in her room
sleeping.
That first kill was very memorable, though.
That's one of the craziest kills.
Yeah. And I loved that apartment building. It was just so beautiful and so interesting.
The building is in Italy where they filmed.
And the way that the pane glass falls and her head sticking through it. And
it's so artistically done.
On the other hand, I have never been a fan of murders that go on. And this girl gets stabbed so many times. And it almost feels like, because there's one guy that dies in this movie, and the rest are women. And I feel like when the guy dies, the camera's pulling away. And when the women die, they're zooming in and really taking their time with it. And when I think back to what he said about wanting to see pretty girls die, I'm like, God, that's gross, man. Argento was accused of being a sexist, right? Am I talking about the right guy here? It wasn't Fulci, it was Argento. And he made a movie about it where he was like, I'm not a sexist. Here's a movie where a guy writes sexist books and he's a fill-in for me and he gets murdered by a woman. Oh, see?
And then I don't think we've mentioned yet that it was originally to be about 12-year-olds.
Oh, right.
And they just didn't change the script and left it that way so that it seemed sort of childlike, and he made the doorknobs up higher so that they would have to reach up farther to seem childlike.
Well, and he probably would have rather worked with women.
Maybe,
Than
but I mean,
kids.
he was the one that
it
originally
was his
wrote the
idea,
script and
but-
had it about 12-year-old. That's what he wanted, but the studio didn't want that because it would get banned for grisly murders
You're gonna
of children.
stab a 12-year-old 16 times and hang him from a ceiling. 2 points from me, but nobody else.
I have to admit that I fast forwarded a little bit through anything that I thought was going to be too gory.
To me, the gore wasn't really believable, though, and I think it was meant to be that way.
It was.
It was very bright red blood.
It looked like
Yes,
paint.
it did look like paint.
Everything was supposed to look like some sort of crazy fantasy world.
Right, yeah,
So-
which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the part of stabbing through the heart, the beating heart?
That was fucking crazy.
Beating heart.
You must have skipped through
I
that.
think I might have skipped through that one.
I remember seeing that the first time and being like, that's insane. Like,
Right.
what in the hell? Why?
Was that the first kill, or was that...
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it the first one?
She gets
Yeah.
stabbed, And then for some reason there's a giant hole in her chest. Who knows how that happened? And she gets stabbed right in the. There's like a little poke, but she doesn't. I would think that would immediately drop you dead, but she's still like, oh, ow.
Right.
So I saw the hairy arm grab her, and I was kind of like, oh, 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And then, like, because it would fast forward 15
But
seconds.
much to
and
your
I was
surprise,
like,
you were probably like, this is still going on?
yeah, and then I was like, and then it would play, and there was like stabbing, and I'm like, okay, 15 more seconds.
Did you see her falling through the ceiling?
I did kind of, and then I saw her at the end, like, ugh.
Yeah.
I also remember thinking, you know what do you need to hang her for? You stabbed her, you literally stabbed her in the heart. Like, alright.
Just to make a good, dramatic, memorable image in our minds, I guess.
It worked.
Definitely.
So, Susie comes back to the school because she tried to get in and they wouldn't let her in. I think it was Sarah that wouldn't let her in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So she gets in and she meets Miss Tanner and Madame Blanc. We don't really get to meet a whole lot of the witches in this. They're there, like you see them later, but you don't meet them in this one.
Madame Blanc seemed very royal. Did you agree? Like
Yeah.
the way she was dressed and the way she carried herself.
I thought her acting was stilted as fuck, but I honestly thought they all were.
Oh, and it's so interesting that they filmed the movie without sound and everybody just spoke their own languages. So there's people speaking Spanish and Italian and English, and then they just dubbed it all over at the end and made it all in English.
Oh, that makes a little more sense now.
Oh, well, I was going to take the
'Cause it
point
was
off
like-
for what's his name that I was telling you about.
Well, you could tell that it was like dubbed over, but I'm like, but it looks like they're speaking English.
Right,
and I'm like,
I
so
know,
why did
because
they
when
dub
you're
it
watching
over?
it, you're like, are they speaking English or are they not? Because sometimes it seemed like they were, because they were. Some people were and some people weren't.
Interesting.
So, the actor Udo Kier, who's in Flesh for Frankenstein and some other stuff, but I really like him, and I think he has a kick-ass German accent.
To know death, Otto, you have to fuck life in the gallbladder.
And they dubbed over him, and it made me so mad, because he's the guy that Susie talks to near the end about, before she talks to the older guy.
Oh, okay.
He's
So
a psychologist. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're using the same fucking voice that they use for every Fulci movie. It's the same guy, and I'm like, God, not this guy again.
She was a patient of mine 3 years ago. Were you aware of that?
I think that's like what the Italian horror directors thought all American men sounded like. And I'm like, it's not doing it for me, man. I want to hear Udo Kier say
But
things.
then the old guy did have a German accent.
Yeah, he did. So what the fuck?
Why not just leave them
weird.
both have German accents?
Ugh.
Yeah, if there's an option to, I normally go with subtitles rather than dubbed, but there was no option for that for this. So. And plus, I mean, that would have just been a weird mess of languages if they would have done it like that.
Yeah, it's probably kind of better, I guess. I think it would have been cool if they all spoke English, but like it was really like their second language, and it was really hard to get. It would have been more realistic, but I don't think he was going for that. So.
Did you know originally his girlfriend was gonna play Susie, but they went with an American actress because they thought it'd be more marketable?
No. Nope.
I read that. But like they did use her voice for the mother Suspiria at the end.
Oh, okay. She's gonna room with Olga for a while, and
So who is Olga and where did she come from?
Yeah, I don't know. She's just some random girl.
yeah, in this movie she's not important at all.
I loved her apartment too, though. It was amazing.
With the white? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's just rooming with her and has to pay her. In this movie, it's not free to stay at the school.
Right.
In the new one, it is free. So, and Olga plays slightly bigger of a part in the new one. But they kept all the names, like all of them. So,
one of the few similarities.
the people who run the dance school are really weird about them staying there. I don't get it. Like, if this was meant for 12-year-olds to be these characters, it would make sense. But then they also bring up, like, going to hotels if they want to stay. So it makes no sense for them to be pushing adults to stay there in the school.
Right, yeah.
I'm so confused by it. But I guess it doesn't matter.
And I wonder if they did change certain things, because were they really going to have a 12-year-old go stay with somebody in their apartment, you know?
Yeah.
I thought it was free for them to stay in the school.
The
It was
second
fif-
movie
I
it
thought-
was.
I apparently don't remember the first movie at all because all I can think of is the second one.
And all I can think of is the first one.
Oh man.
You'll be better with the second one.
I
I
thought it
won't be
was-
very good because
I thought it was
so
$50 to stay, or $5 or whatever to stay with Olga, and then free for at the school. And she was like, and one of the other dancers was like, "Well, it's free," and she was like, "But I don't want to stay here like a child."
Maybe,
thought-
but I do
Yeah,
know that they
or-
specifically say to her, it is not free to stay.
Oh.
It'll take 50 of your American dollars per month or week. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was them trying to talk her out of staying with Olga because
She
it was
wanted
not
to
gonna-
stay with Olga, but then Olga didn't want her there anymore after she got sick. So she had to leave.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if that's what it was or if when she got sick they were like, quick, get her shit here. And we'll
Well,
say
I
that
remember-
Olga did it.
She said something like, Olga didn't want her there anymore after she got sick because she was like, she must have thought I had something horribly contagious.
Yeah, I do remember that.
But what I don't understand is why they want her there so much. I don't
Right,
understand
yeah.
anything that the witches are doing in this at all in this movie. They're not a threat. They're just at night they go into the back rooms and do spells. When they say they're going home, they don't leave the school, they go into the school further. And that would make sense for 12-year-olds because 12-year-olds would be like, these parents are lying to us and we gotta figure it out. But for adults, this makes no fucking sense at all.
Yeah, Sarah was really obsessed with why they come back and all, like she was
Yeah.
freaking out about it.
Counting steps, keeping journals, and all kind. Because Pat left her a journal saying that she had been listening to the steps and found a room or something like that. So, but so what? Like, it isn't until later when Susie starts hearing about witches and stuff that they actually start thinking maybe they're witches. But even then, like,
Right through most of it, you don't know.
Well, the whole point was they were trying to find somebody for Marcos to jump into.
not in this
But
one.
they didn't mention that in this one. That's all in the
Damn
second.
it!
I feel like the remake makes it make more sense.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, but at the end, she goes into Sarah.
She doesn't go into
No,
her.
she raises Sarah from the dead.
Yeah,
Oh, I
she's
thought
like
she
a zombie.
I thought
kind
she
of.
jumped into her so that she could. Okay, never mind.
No, that's what I'm saying. This movie doesn't really give the witches motivation or anything. They show up sometimes and people die. They can convince dogs to kill people and hairy armed men to kill people, but
But why are they doing it?
why are they
Yeah.
doing it? Other than like, oh, we got found out, we got to kill them. That's all I can think of.
I was wondering why they needed the blind guy out of there. Like,
Yeah.
what did he do? Like, why were they...
Did the dog really? Was it unprovoked that it attacked
I don't
that
think
person?
so. I think that they made the dog do that
'Cause those-
for some reason.
Right, okay, so there's a blind guy that plays the piano when they dance, which is only twice in the movie. And he has a seeing eye dog that stays outside. We'll just skip to this because there's not much here. And that's going to be weird when our scores come out because I'm going to score it high. But the dog is outside. This woman and her kid come walking up, and you hear the kid scream.
Right.
And then Miss Tanner comes flying in, and she's like, "Get it the fuck out of here, you blind fuck!"
Yeah,
Quote
she
from
was
the
so
movie.
mean to that poor guy.
And he's like, "I'm blind, but I'm not deaf," which I loved. And then he's like, "Ah, fresh air, get me out of here." I love this guy. So he's gone, and she's got. That's another weird thing. Is like as she's throwing him out and is all pissed off.
Yeah.
She's also smiling. She got this big old grin, and I'm like, is she mad? Like, what is she?
Right. And she threw his
She
stuff
knows
and he
she's gonna
can't
get
see.
revenge on him.
Right.
But for what?
Yeah, I just didn't understand what they were upset with him about. Like, why couldn't
Then
he
his
stay?
the dog did something.
Yeah, because they made it do it. I
Yeah.
don't think that the dog seems so mellow.
The dog's
and
sitting there.
that
These two
poor-
come up, and the kid's looking at him like, "Fuck you, dog."
Yeah, I felt bad for the man and his dog.
Oh, he bit the nephew.
They
And
say
then
him
they-
at the nephew.
Yeah, but I don't think that the dog would have done it on its own.
The
It
way
seemed
that
like
they
a
were
very
looking at the
mild
dog
mannered
made me
dog.
think they made the dog bite him.
Definitely.
Which made me think they wanted to kill the piano guy and needed a
Mhm.
reason to do it.
Right. And then they just have the dog kill him too, which this dog would not have willingly killed his owner for sure. It was
just it's like eating the dog's eating meat, which
right, yeah.
That's Italian horror in a nutshell right there. There's always animals eating skin. It's just weird.
I fast forwarded a little bit.
I thought it was cool
As
though.
soon as I saw the dog go up to his
Yeah.
neck, I was like,
It's so funny looking too though, like because it's like a stuffed dog
Oh,
jumping onto
right.
a dummy's neck. It's so ridiculous.
The bat thing looked fake too, kind of.
Have you ever seen House by the Cemetery?
No.
Same. They must use the same bat because the same thing happens in that movie. A bat comes in and attacks a guy, and the scene goes on for 2 minutes where he's like, oh, can't see it visual, but swinging his arm around, and then eventually, like, the actor is like, obviously, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, he's still moving, but he's like looking around, like, what do you want me to do? And he finally stabs it, and with this, she overkills it and hits it with a stool, and I'm like,
Yeah, and has it under the blanket.
are these bats like common in Italy? Like giant fucking killer bats?
I mean, that was something that I assumed the witches kind of sent as well, right? To attack her.
I
Probably.
guess.
I don't know.
But again,
That's
why?
One assumption. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay, so I'm gonna zip through this little pocket of stuff that happens. Susie dances for a minute, gets sick from looking at a piece of glass or something,
Yeah.
falls over, is bleeding. They're shoving drinks down her throat, forcing her to drink red wine.
Red wine, because it was going to rebuild her blood cells from all the blood she
or it
lost.
had drugs in it. Whatever.
I think it
Definitely.
because she was falling asleep every
And that was
single
some weird
night.
red wine, too, when she tried to dump it towards
It
the end.
stuck to the sink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was wondering, do you think there was blood in the wine, or what do you think? And
That did cross my mind. Yeah.
I
because
think
it didn't look like
at the
normal
very
red
least
wine.
it was supposed to look like blood, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
So
And there was clearly something in there. I don't know if they just put a
Right.
spell on it or if they actually put drugs in there.
well, she
I don't
dumped
know.
stuff down the toilet, and it looked like pills were going in there. But I thought if that were the case, she would have been like, "What the fuck?" But she doesn't.
No.
So after that happens, Sarah's talking to her, leaves the room. Maggots start falling from the ceiling.
Right.
They go upstairs and find a box. Is there a body in that box?
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that's what it was or not because you can't really see it that well. I didn't think.
There was something in there, and they
Yeah.
were like trying to get the camera in, but like at the same time, my thought was there's a body up there. There's
Right.
maggots on the body. Now they're
That's what
falling
I
from the
thought.
ceiling.
That was a lot of maggots.
That's another Italian horror movie trope.
Maggot.
Getting attacked by maggots. City of the Living Dead. Everybody's standing around waiting for something to happen because, again, Italian horror, nothing happens for a lot of it. And the windows blow open and maggots just come like waves and waves of maggots. And I'm like,
That's realistic.
and it's playing this like sinister music, but I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah, as soon as the worms came on, I just fast forwarded.
Yeah.
And do you think that was accidental, like something that they weren't planning on, or did the witches create all the maggots because they wanted everyone sleeping in that room, like kind of quarantined in there in this dance studio? That's why
Yeah, why did they want them in there? And then they bring in the...
I mean, they had all those mattresses and they were all ready to go.
They bring in the head lady, the head mistress, or the head something. She's
Right.
just snoring.
Snoring.
I'm like you a little bit with this because I'm looking at the 2018 movie and being like, well, this is what that movie would have done with that. She wants to be close to the people that she's going to inhabit,
That makes sense.
but that's not happening in this movie.
No.
I just don't understand anything.
No,
at
why would
all.
they bring her just to sleep on the other side of a sheet
Right,
or
that
whatever?
didn't make any sense.
None of it made sense. to
No.
me.
Before she falls down and is hit with the beam, she also says she wants to live with Olga, and Miss Tanner's pissed about it.
Right.
So I think that's the motivation to hypnotize her and make her fall over.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other one, Madame Blanc, is like, "You're pretty brave," and I'm like, "Why do you want her there?"
It just
Like-
seems like anytime anybody does anything that they don't like, then they just do like a little revenge thing on them.
Right.
So Sarah is starting to figure all this shit out. There's a scene where they swim, which leads to nothing. they talk about shit that leads to nothing. And eventually Sarah's trying to explain what she's figured out to Susie, but she's fallen asleep, and now the witches are coming. So this long scene of this long chase scene through the school happens, and she crashes through some glass, which I thought was cool. But what was really cool to me was when they open up that thing to show the knife, there's also 2 pins in there with white things on the top, and at the end when Sarah comes back, she's got them in her eyes.
Yeah.
So it must have been some sort of ritual killing, but I don't know why.
Yeah, it's not explained or anything, but...
That part is terrifying to me. When she's in that room and that razor blade is like trying to push the lock up, that is fucking scary.
Right, it's suspenseful there.
Yeah. And then it quickly turns to comedy.
Right. And also, it seemed like it would have been a lot easier for them to get that lock open.
Right. They're like,
They're just
maybe they wanted to convince her to go into the razor room.
I bet that's probably right, actually. That makes more sense.
Because why have a razor room if nobody's gonna go in there?
Yep.
Why have a razor room, Em?
A razor room?
A razor
For
room.
torture.
A razor wire room. A room
I
in
thought-
a dance school filled with razor wire.
I thought it was outside the window.
Well, there's a window in a back room that leads, and also,
Apparently I was
why
very
not look
confused.
down before you jump?
You would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she didn't realize what that wire was. Maybe she didn't realize it would be so sharp and razory.
Honestly, like if the music hadn't have been playing, I wouldn't have known what was going on either. Because they do not do any makeup effects whatsoever as she's rolling around.
No, she barely has any. Like she would have been totally bloody in all that razor wire.
Right? Yeah. Instead, she just lays there and goes,
Yeah.
flailing around.
I feel like I was just really confused the entire movie. I just have question after question written down here.
Ask some.
Yeah.
We won't be able to answer
Where
them.
did that girl go? Who is that lady? Whose hairy arm is that? Is that a landlord? Wine cures anemia? What's in that shot? Who cares where the director sleeps? There was a dog at that place? Why is Sarah obsessed with where the teachers are? Where is she trying to go? Is she running away or trying to find something? Ghost witch lady with emphysema? What? I just had no idea what was going on. There you go. Those are my questions.
Perfect.
Can you answer
No,
them?
obviously
Answer any
not.
of them?
So after Sarah dies, they tell everybody she just disappeared, right?
Well, what girl were you talking about? Where is that girl going?
That's from the beginning. Like, where
She was running through the woods.
Oh, okay.
After that, and she goes to somebody's apartment, and some lady is there, and I don't know who any of these people are.
I was assuming that was just a friend of hers she went to go to when she was fleeing from the dance academy.
Susie's in the car. Is she just watching her, like, go through the woods?
See,
like
I was
that?
wondering that. At first, I was thinking that she was just looking out the window and it looked like she was watching her, but she wasn't really. But I'm not sure.
I think she
Do
saw
you think
her.
she actually saw her?
Yeah. The whole thing played out like a nightmare, which I think is the
Yeah,
point.
which it was meant to.
Yeah, so...
I love that. Like, you feel like you're in a nightmare watching it.
Somebody goes to a bar, and they were in lederhosen dancing on the
what was that?
table. I was like, this is my jam now. Like, I could totally get into this, but I don't know what that was.
That was like something out of a different movie.
And then I just wrote, really hoping this goes somewhere, anywhere.
The bar thing, isn't that where Daniel is? Daniel being the piano player. In the
And
middle
that's
of an
when
empty...
he's in the middle of that empty...
Oh, in the square. Like, yeah. Okay.
I thought it was cool that they had like what looked like witches,
Yeah.
shadows going
That
across.
was
That
cool.
was awesome. I loved that. And then he gets attacked by a dog.
I miss the shadows.
Did you see the dog and fast forward and go nope, nope, nope?
Oh, was that while the dog was attacking him?
No,
Or-
before.
Right before.
The birds fly away, and then you see these shadows going across the building that look like people on broomsticks.
There was
Susie tells Madame Blanc about what she thought she heard Patrizia say about irises in secret rooms. And Madame Blanc plays it off like, oh, I don't know. They're sitting
Right
right
there.
beside it.
But she didn't notice it either.
Yeah. So she calls the police to tell them that, which is just a ruse or whatever. Miss Tanner tells Susie that Sarah left early in the morning without telling anybody. And they're all mad about it, too. They're like, oh, I'm responsible, now I gotta call her dad. Blah, blah, blah. Well, don't kill her next time. You won't have to go to all this trouble. That's when Susie's like, fuck this. I'm gonna go talk to somebody about witches. And goes to a guy named Dr. Mandel. And that is my German actor guy whose name I suddenly forgot.
Yes, he's a fox.
He is, isn't he? You should hear him speak. And they won't let you, but goddamn, dude. Anyway, he tells him a little bit about witches, but then turns him over to Professor Milius, who... Okay, small complaint I have about this whole thing. He's saying that witches are evil because they want power. Is this because they're women wanting power? Because fuck the patriarchy. Thank you.
Right.
Or is he talking about these witches in particular?
He just says all. She says, "Well, what do witches want?" And he's like, "All witches are evil and use their evil powers to gain power, and that's all they want, and they're all evil." Blah 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 blah. That's the exact quote from the movie.
He sounds like
And his jowls go like this.
he sounds like a crusty old man.
He says that the Coven of Witches can only do magic with the power of the queen, otherwise they're harmless, so it's kind of like remove the head and the body dies. That's what that means. So she goes back and the power goes out. So she's trying to make a phone call to somebody. I don't know who she's trying to talk to.
This is the point where I realized that Susie has still not taken a dance class.
Yeah.
Well, she's been sick. She's been rebuilding those blood cells.
Yes.
When I was watching the new one, I was like, if she dances for 30 seconds, she's danced more than the entire first movie.
Yeah. I mean, this might as well have not even been a dance school.
It could be anywhere.
It could have been anything.
Yeah. Everybody in the entire school is out at a ballet except her. I don't know if this is because they're planning to kill her, because they don't mention that until a couple minutes later. So I'm really not sure why they didn't tell her. I don't understand. But because all the lights go out and the power goes out, and she just starts... First she gets attacked by a bat after she flushes her food down the toilet and dumps her wine down the sink. She starts following that path that Sarah was on, finds secret doors, eventually figures out that Patrizia said, "Blue iris, turn it," and it opens up a secret door. And so she goes in there and is walking around, and the witches are in there planning on killing the American girl.
Mm-hmm.
For who knows what reason.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But then she also finds Sarah's dead body, and then stumbles into Elena Marcos' room.
Mm.
So it is Marcos.
Yeah, it's Marcos in this, yep. But she's not trying to do anything. She's just sleeping all the time. That's all she does. She's like, oh, what? Oh, fuck you. So...
But then when she knocked that stuff over and made a bunch of noise, she was like, "I knew you were coming." Like, she
you
was
want to kill
her.
me? Why?
Yeah.
Why would she want to kill you? Because you snore? Like, I don't.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
like they feel like something sinister is going on here, but I don't know what.
Also, he literally made a bird with crystal plumage in this scene. He literally put it there.
Yeah.
So, but those little balls wake her up, and she's got one of the feathers. And then Sarah's corpse comes in, looking to kill her, but is moving like super slow, I guess to make it suspenseful or something. I don't know, but she stabs Marcos in the neck because she sees an outline of her, and then that causes the entire place to fall apart because she just killed the head.
Right.
So...
Realistic.
Mm-hmm. Then the building catches on fire, and she's all happy, and no investigation was ever had, and the cops were like, man, who cares? Dancers came back and said, I guess we don't have to stay here and not dance anymore. And that was the end of the movie.
Yep. But I mean, it is so dreamlike that, like, if you think of it in the context of, like, if it was a dream, dreams don't make sense, so it doesn't have to make sense.
That's true. I agree with that. Like, I wanted to really find some meaning in this time. I didn't. It's not there. It's just not there. So, we're going to start with you, Em.
What?
What score do you give this movie?
Alright, well, I did have one positive comment. The sets and walls and architecture are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's It's not really my kind of movie, I don't think. Not that I don't like artsy type stuff, but I don't think I like artsy horror type stuff. I don't know. I at least like
you don't like horror movies.
Right.
I mean,
I like some sort of plot or some sort of like.
ew, why?
Well, okay, plot, entertainment, theme, message, acting, dialogue, continuity, visual effects, sound, and music. And the music grated my nerves. I'm sorry.
Oh, boo.
I love it, but I can see that. I could see how somebody wouldn't enjoy it.
Oh, character, like none of these things, like none of it. I'm giving it a 1.
Okay.
Wow.
It's a jaw dropper.
I had a feeling, yeah. All right, Lindsay.
So, yeah, the plot really wasn't there. It wasn't, like, really developed well, but to me, the atmosphere and the artistic visuals and sound, like, more than made up for that, and I really can't give it less than an 8. Because I would say it's one of my favorite horror movies. It's so good. Like, no, the storyline isn't really the best, but it doesn't really matter in this type of movie, if you ask me.
I respect that.
I'm in the same boat. I would have given it a perfect score if I hadn't done digging today. I ruined that for myself. So Argento's bullshit kind of lowered it for me. But it's always been one of my favorites, except for the first time I saw it. After that, I like going for walks listening to this score. So.
Oh my god, that sounds horrible.
Oh, it makes me feel like I'm walking like this, you know, like with my arms waving in the air and stuff. They brought in one of the last remaining Technicolor camera people to make this movie because they specifically wanted to make the reds, blues, and yellows pop.
Right, yeah, because I had it here, I had it written that it was one of the last films made in Technicolor, but then I read that it was a misconception that it was shot in Technicolor. No film after the 50s was made with this method,
Right.
But it was shot in normal Eastman color Kodak stock and then printed using the 3-strip Technicolor process.
That's the guy, yeah, that's what they brought him in for.
And
So-
then, supposedly, after that, Technicolor Rome dismantled their remaining 3-strip equipment right after this movie was made.
That sucks, because it
Yeah.
looks so cool.
I know, it's just beautiful, in my opinion.
Yeah, as far as, if you want a movie with a plot, it's just ask M. It's not this.
Right, yeah.
It's not what this is.
Normally, that would be more important to me, but it's just so artistically done that I don't care.
And, have you ever seen Inferno?
I don't think I saw that one. I need to watch it.
It's like a companion piece to this, but everybody, I recommend Inferno too. It's not as good as this, but it definitely has dream stuff to it. So
Okay.
I'm giving it a 9. You fucked it, Argento. You fucked it. If you want to get a hold of us, facebook.com/horrorcasting. Horrorcastings@gmail.com. We're on Twitter for now, but I don't know, Elon Musk might change that. We're on Spotify also. I feel like we need to do some changes with where our show is and how to get a hold of people. We're on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. And on YouTube, I would like you to like and subscribe, but also comment, because what the hell?
That's good. Yell at them.
Yeah.
It's a very effective strategy. That's why, like I said before, of the 2,000 views that we get, 1,995 are dislikes, and we just can't see them. So, yeah, communicate with us. We want to know what you think. Do you think this movie had a plot? If so, please tell us.
Actually, it got the original Suspiria has much higher ratings than the new Suspiria on like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb.
7.6 out of 10, something like that.
Yeah. So the world disagrees with me, but whatever. I'm okay with it.
It's okay to have an unpopular opinion.
All right, use some of that excitement to send us out of here.
Thrill me.